pay there. If you look around and observe and listen to the people you know, you'll find that quite a few of them have a central theme. They have something which is the thing that is their calling in life. It's who they are, it's what they're doing here, or at least what they want to be doing here. This could be a particular quest, a calling, a hobby, an art form, or a pursuit. Now, if you observe the people where you'll be able to see this quite clearly, I believe you'll find that they can be divided into two separate and distinct, clearly observable groups. Those who are doing it and thriving doing it, and those who wish to do it but are frustrated because they can't quite engage. It's very rare you see anyone who's in between of these. Now, if you look at the doing it group and you observe their life, you'll see that the main light is on that thing. If they want to practice karate, if they want to undertake environmental activism, if they want to learn pottery or a musical instrument, that's what they're doing with almost all of their emotional effort. And they're getting a lot from it. They're getting their emotional fulfillment, their success, their feelings of victory, but also their challenges and their inspirations and their learning and their insights and their self-development. They're getting a lot from that pursuit. And they need to apply a little bit of effort to make sure other things, necessary, valuable things, don't get neglected. So seeing their family or spending time with friends or sorting out that house or making enough effort in their job or whatever. They need to put some more effort into that. They can't just be doing karate every day or making pots. Now, if you observe this position, it's actually a very good position to be in life. It really works. This central goal is a really beautiful thing. It gives such a strong sense of purpose. It protects them against hardships and it really brings the best out in them. Now, obviously there are some examples where this could go too far, but that's a different video. Now, if you look at the other side, and this is the important, now we're getting to really what we want to learn about or explore in this video. Those who wish to, but don't. The person who wants to be a writer, they really want to be a writer. They love reading, they like talking to people about writing, they have visions of themselves writing, they have plans for it, but it's always after or always another time, or they're always too tired, or they've always got too much on. So that person, they've got the calling, but they're not engaging with it. And it's a very frustrating place to be, and it's quite tough. And they're in the opposite position. The house extension, the relationship, the situation at work, the other things in life are more powerful than the calling. So they're trying to bring their effort to the thing that is them or the thing they're here to do, but everything else gets in the way. And they often have a bit of an after script. They say, yes, I'm going to do the writing, I'm going to train in ballet, I'm going to learn that language and get the second home. But after this, after that, after I've finished this job or after the extension's done or whatever. So we've got two opposite positions where one person is doing it and having to apply effort to the other things in life. The other person who's applying the effort to other things in life and being pulled into them, perhaps, and has to apply effort to try to do it and often fails. Incidentally, if you look at these two, the person following their calling tends to do better at the other things than the person following the other things does at their calling. And that's an interesting observation that we could cover in a while. But now we've got to the point. This video is going to be very useful for anyone who's in the second position, where they're frustrated and they're dreaming of practicing their meditation. Their heart desire calls out for them to paint or to run or whatever, but they just aren't getting to it. So what's the situation? Well, I think obviously there are different layers to this, but from a practical point of view of solving it, the focus should be on where that person is getting their fulfillment in life. And I would have a broad definition of fulfillment, because I even think a sense of frustration and a sense of struggle is part of that rich tapestry of being alive, which we need some of to thrive. The person obviously engaging in their karate class 5 times a week, and they're going to tournaments and so on, is getting it from that calling, that central theme. But the other person who dreams of karate but doesn't get to it, they're getting this from other places. Now, I've come to believe that this is a little bit like other things we do to get the result in terms of feelings without putting in the legitimate effort. So if you look at almost every recreational drug, there's either a neurotransmitter or something else it binds to, which has a natural reason it's there, but this is kind of hijacking that. So the thing you're taking is going to hit your dopamine receptors or stimulate your happy serotonin, or you trigger your adrenaline, or cover something up by binding with something. But it's a cuckoo in the nest. It's a false binding. It's not the one that it was made for. So you get to feel happy without having achieved something or being in a happy situation. You get to feel calm, but without being actually really calm or excited or whatever. And I think that what can happen is that for various reasons, external or internal, we can get to the point where all the fulfillment that should be coming from the calling or the quest is coming from other things in life. And if you look at these do tend to be decoy things. So the artist that should be painting beautifully is playing a game on their mobile, or is creating in their mind scenarios to get to the painting. Or the person who should be achieving a sense of joy from their making something beautiful in pottery has got a group of friends that call them, and they drink and they celebrate and they have great times. And that's, a small amount, that's a healthy thing, but that's replacing something that would take a bit more investment to make something that triggers the same sense of joy appear. Now, if you look specifically, actually the examples I used, they're not quite right, in the sense that the decoy does tend to have more of an imitation of the reality. So the person who they've got a big social calling, and they say they want to do something to change the world in a group, they want to do that. They might watch a lot of television programs which have got heroic figures in there doing things they know very well about and so on. Or they might have they might watch things about the things they find important a lot. And that's perhaps a sort of poor replacement for the actual genuine expression. And there's maybe even other ones which are sort of more subtle, so the person who wishes they were a writer often ends up in futile sort of situations where they're writing complaint letters which are sort of not going to go anywhere, or they're filling in huge amounts of application forms for things for other people or whatever. They end up in different expressions. Now, I can hear you say, but why? Why are they going in that direction? I think it's best not to get too focused on possible reasons whereby the person has actually ended up with a sort of a bunch of inferior sources of fulfillment. I think it's better to focus on the fact that person has got an idea of what this genuine central thing should be that's persisted for years, and they're really directed towards it. Now, I actually think that when it's gone on that long, they probably have a natural wisdom that even if it isn't the overall thing that they should be doing eventually, it's something they need to do to get to the next step. Now, there may be other big causes. There may be psychological ones, whereby the person's fearful. They're quite scared if they do eventually take up that musical instrument or go and start that thing, that business, it might fail. Yeah, there might be fear. Or there could be other internal barriers or external barriers, maybe people around them which have kind of managed to hijack that person's inspirations into their own goals or whatever, which, there could be all sorts of things. But in my experience, too much examination of the cause can actually become a big distraction itself. All of us have layers of different feelings and stuff from the past and conflict and so on in us. And to look at all those moving parts isn't very practical. You could spend a whole lifetime examining the different aspects in yourself, and you could classify them. You could say, right, there's a natural kind of laziness, there's a fear here, there's a social pressure, there's a sense of confusion from my upbringing, which has a different goal. You could do all this stuff. But what you really want to do is unplug and replug into the thing you really want to do. So that instead of watching, a box set of Friends and sitting there eating ice cream, you want to get the pottery set up and doing that. Instead of saying, right, I'm going to do this, I'm going to start keeping those and breeding budgerigars after I've done all these things for other people, you need to have more of a balance and live a bit more for yourself. So unplug and replug. Now, if you start to unplug the false sources of fulfillment, it is going to be uncomfortable for a while. Because normally there'll be quite instant ones. There'll be, something that's straight in there. It'll be, addiction to smoking or certain types of social contact or entertainment or scrolling on your phone. It'll be comfort eating or displacement activity or making yourself feel good about yourself by helping someone else with their quest or whatever. You'll find them, and they come in lots of different forms. There may even be a goal that died for you a long time ago. It hasn't been giving you fulfillment for a long time. It doesn't do anything for you, and it's not serving any purpose, but you've done it so long, it still takes up your attention. So it could be sort of a hollow you're plugged into a plug, but it's not on, but it worked so well before you're still hoping. Start unplugging. And that's an interesting thing. So how do you do this? Well, the first thing you could do, and I'd recommend one or the other of these to begin with, is actually either one, let go of one of the big ones. Yeah, so it might be let go of some social media in some way, or let go of something that isn't as good as what you would like to be doing and isn't really who you are. Let go of that and hold firm and start to seek the same fulfillment in the thing you would like to do. Now it may be a bit uncomfortable for a while, but it's good. It's good to get hungry again. It's good to get a little bit frustrated, and the calling might take a bit longer. You're used to quick emotional response. It might take a bit longer to be the new fulfillment. If you think about it, a lot of things, gambling, computer games, social media, interaction with people online, they're a lot slower than the more fulfilling alternative. Sort of earning money, achieving things in actually this world rather than in a sort of made up one. Going to actually see people and interact with them directly. It's a lot more long chain than just messaging people. So it maybe you need to get used to having better but longer, or better but you need to invest a little bit more. So that's the first thing you could do. You could unplug and wait till it gets frustrating enough that and make sure that's the only expression. The other thing you could do is you could actually book a specific amount of time for what you say you want to do and apply discipline. So you're not doing this for a sense of fulfillment. Initially, you're doing this because you know that this is going to, once everything's straightened up, once everything's in order, this is where you need to be. Now, that needs to be a sacred, immovable vow, because the excuses you've used for years not to write, paint, box, run, whatever, they're going to come and challenge you. So you need to phrase this in a way to yourself that can't be changed. You need to say, right, I do a lot of other things for other people, a lot of things just to live here and pay my taxes. It's not too much for me to ask for half an hour or an hour of what I say I'm really wanting to do now. So I'm going to book that in every day, and nothing at all is going to move me from it. I'm not on call for that time. Now, obviously, there are things where there could be a big, genuine exception. You could have a loved one has a heart attack. You need to drive them, to the hospital, and you're not going to say, listen, I'm doing my origami. I've always wanted to do this more than anything else. But aside from absolute terrible emergencies, you will not move from that. And indeed, you'll put all your efforts into making sure it happens. You're at a party, it comes to 7:00. That's the time you said you're going to be doing your calligraphy, learning trading, developing your business, doing your meditation, practicing your Buddhism, reading philosophy, whatever it is you're here to do, you're going to wander off and do that. You're going to sit in the car, you're going to go into the woods, you're going to go into a spare room. You will find a way to do that every day. If you look at people, they make a lot of exceptions for other things. Eat more one day than they would normally, because it's a party. Stay up late because, it's there's something exciting. Even through tiredness, they'll watch, the end of that sort of box set or whatever. But when it comes to the other thing, early night, day of fasting, that exception seems very uncomfortable. you need to start making sure that this small bit of territory, that half an hour a day, is the thing you're making the excuses to do, not what you're making excuses not to do. Now, this is really interesting because this is a homeopathic dose of what you need. This is exactly what's needed to start moving things forwards in the way that is required. And by doing this, there are certain forces within your mind, there are certain characters around you, there are certain things in your life that will have to start to slot into place, and you will be proving who's boss. You'll even be making a deep statement to yourself what your priority is, and that can be incredibly transformative and healing. So if you do either of these approaches, you're starting to win, and the momentum is beautiful. My name is Martin Faulks, and I hope that video has been of use to anyone who's wanting to move from the position of having a calling, an interest, an undertaking, or a quest that they know should be central to who they are and what they're doing in life, but is frustrated and can't get to engage with it, to the person who is managing to fully fulfill what their dreams and aspirations have been calling for. Until next time, let's let every word, thought, and action count.